In Haiti, two main gangs once again paralyzed the entire capital city, Port-au-Prince. 471 people have been killed over the past 13 days of violence alone. In Bolivia, President Luis Arce held a meeting with the country's mayors and reached an important agreement to move forward with the 2024 census. In Mali, terrorist attacks left a toll of 15 soldiers and 3 civilians killed during 2 separate attacks in the southwest. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti, is no longer a city, but a battlefield where thousands of innocent citizens are in the line of fire. This Wednesday, two main gangs once again paralyzed the entire city. 471 people have been killed over the past 13 days of violence alone. Ruins and barricades can be seen all over the city. In a country with so much poverty and precariousness, people wonder how the gang members managed to get the ammunition, the weapons, vehicles, fuel, and even the sandbags to make strong trenches. People only know that all of that arrives in containers from the United States. The districts of Lalu, Port-Marchand, the Champ de Mars, which until now had been moderately safe, were paralyzed by the heavy shootings that went on for hours. Classes were suspended at the science faculty of the state university, and in the midst of the chaos, the university or the country's cathedral caught fire. United Nations estimates more than 1,000 violent fatalities so far this year and warns about an increase in sexual crimes and kidnappings, while the government and the law enforcement are neutralized by the power of the gangs. Chilean President Gabriel Boric announced on Wednesday that public hospitals in his country will be providing health care services for free of charge as of September 1st. More than 5.3 million citizens will benefit from this measure, which repeals the co-payment model, which requires users of the National Health Fund, FONASA, to pay for medical services at state hospitals. 8 out of every 10 of the country's 19 million citizens are ascribed as FONASA. According to a report issued by the presidential office, the annual fiscal cost of this measure will be close to $21 million. President Boric said that this is a historical advance regarding health care services in the country.
There have been many generations of Chileans who dreamed that what we are advancing today became a reality at some point in the future. I mean, a free public healthcare system for all FONASA users. A system that will function based on the needs of the citizens and not on the depth of one's pockets.
In Nicaragua, at least 18 people have died and 50 others were injured in a traffic accident at 6:30 local time at a kilometer 170 of the North Pan American Highway on the slope known as La Cucamonga in the department of Estelí. Through a communique, the Nicaraguan Federation of Fire Departments said that law enforcement, that is the National Police, the Civil Defense, and the Army, arrived on the scenes immediately to help the victims and to have them transferred to the Ada Maria Lopez Hospital, located near the municipality of Condenga and San Juan de Dios in the department of Estelí. The investigation into the circumstances of the accident is ongoing, and the authorities will be issuing a more detailed report. And in El Salvador, social organizations and the trade unions said President Nayib Bukele has arbitrarily dismissed more than 14,000 workers since he came to power. The movement of dismissed workers and the Bloc of Resistance and the Popular Rebellion denounced on Wednesday before Parliament that at least 14,000 civil servants have been dismissed. The leaders of these platforms also warned that the Education Minister, Mauricio Pineda, is preparing a voluntary retirement for more than 30,000 teachers. In Peru, this Wednesday, the judiciary has finally authorized for the first time that euthanasia will be applied. Ana Estrada, 43 years old, has become the first person to receive authorization to end her life with dignity. According to the judicial body, the authorization was possible because Supreme Court Judge Carlos Calderón Puertas changed his position and joined the majority of the magistrates to allow such medical action protocol for Ana Estrada, an activist whom at the age of 12 was diagnosed with incurable and progressive polymyositis. Her petition had been filed last July 15th. July 28th marks a new anniversary of Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías' birth. The Venezuelan leader will have turned 68. The greatest achievements of former Venezuelan President Hugo Rafael Chávez Frías were reflected in the reduction of poverty, guaranteeing access to education, health, and housing for the most vulnerable population. During the government of President Hugo Chávez, extreme poverty in Venezuela was reduced, and under his mandate, popular education programs were implemented to eradicate illiteracy in Venezuela with the support of Cuba. In addition, Chávez guaranteed Venezuela's oil sovereignty by nationalizing most of the companies of the sector in the country. Furthermore, as a result of the Venezuelan leader's efforts, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, ALBA, was born. For Latin America and the Caribbean Exchange, he gave impetus to the Union of South American Nations, UNASUR, in 2008, and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, in 2012. For his charisma, ideals, bravery, and achievements facing U.S. governments and interference, Chávez, together with Fidel Castro, is a symbol and a guide for Latin American and world leftist movements. We'll take a short break now, but first we'll leave you with images of worldwide commemorations of Chávez's birth and how his legacy remains for the progressive forces of Latin America and the world. Welcome back to From the South. Once again, dialogue paves the way for Bolivia's major national projects. This Wednesday, President Luis Arce held a meeting with the country's mayors and reached important agreements to move forward with the 2024 census. The head of the state and the mayors from the 9 capital cities, plus El Alto, agreed to assume the process of socialization of the census in each department to advance in a reliable way towards the development of the census, as stated in the final report of the meeting. Bolivia's presidential spokesperson Jorge Richer, joined by the mayors and Deputy Minister of Autonomy Álvaro Ruiz, informed of the agreements reached on the different matters. The meeting extended for more than 4 hours and it took place at the Great House of the People. The presidential spokesperson also highlighted that the agreement of depoliticize the census was one of the most important achievements of the meeting.
Of course, most of you want to know some elements of what we discussed. What are the main issues of the last 2 weeks concerning the census? We must point out that the main agreement we have at this moment, and we will read the minutes when the meeting is over, The main agreement we reached was to work along the lines of depoliticizing the census so it can recover its true essence, which is that of a completely technical process.
Argentina President Alberto Fernandez met on Wednesday with 13 Peronist governors in Buenos Aires, the nation's capital. They discussed solutions to the current situation, the economy, and development plans. After a two-hour meeting at the Casa Rosada, the seat of the national government, the regional leaders left without making any statements to the press. Meanwhile, Alicia Kirchner, the governor of Santa Cruz, said that she and her colleagues expressed their views on the present economic situation resulting from a foreign currency exchange crisis. Other governors used their social media to report that they also talk about regional development, ways out of the present crisis, and the health of their respective administrations. Last week, President Fernandez called on his government team and his supporters to continue working for a dignified development of Argentina in the midst of the strong attacks from sectors of the opposition, whom the ruling party blamed for the present currency exchange crisis as part of a coup attempt. And this Wednesday, Cuban Vice President Salvador Valdez visited the municipalities of Arroyo Naranjo and La Lisa to verify those actions that people and government are carrying out to improve the quality of life there. Visitors also included the first Secretary of the Communist Party of Cuba in Havana, Luis Antonio Torres, and the Governor of the capital, Reynaldo Garcia, who were able to verify the social work conducted at the shanty towns in the municipalities, as well as actions for the construction of hydraulic networks and other basic services. Vice President Salvador Valdez reiterated the importance of defending the cooperatives and state enterprises and of always understanding that in the revolution, every economic action is also social.
State institution has. It is necessary to defend the state enterprise, the cooperative enterprise, and the UBPC.
And now we move on to other topics. Pope Francis arrived on Wednesday at the Canadian city of Quebec as part of his 37 apostolic journey. The Holy Father arrived in Quebec City at 2:43 p.m. local time and was welcomed at the Quebec International Airport by local authorities. The first meeting of Pope Francis in Quebec was with the Governor-General of Canada, Mr. Murray May-Simon, the first Indigenous leader to take the oath of office in the country. After the courtesy visit to the Governor, the Pontiff met with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and then delivered the fifth speech of his 37th International Apostolic Journey, the one he addressed to the civil authorities of the Canadian nation, the representatives of the Indigenous peoples, and the diplomatic corps. The United States government has once again changed his mind on a decision that until less than 20 days ago was considered irreversible. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken now wants to talk to his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov. In the framework of the Asian summit, the head of the U.S. diplomacy stated he had nothing to talk about with Moscow. In the last few hours, however, he has said that they are awaiting a reply from the Russian Foreign Ministry to a request for a telephone meeting. Secretary Blinken made it clear that they will not discuss the Ukrainian conflict, but minutes later changed his mind. The purpose of the call, according to the diplomat, is to discuss an exchange of prisoners. Basketball player Brittany Griner and the ex-Marine Paul Whelan, one arrested in Moscow for carrying a device containing cannabis oil, and the other charged with espionage. The United States has confirmed more than 4,000 monkeypox cases, according to the latest data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So far, the U.S. has the world's highest tally of monkeypox cases. New York has recorded the most cases in the country, with more than 1,000, followed by California with more than 700 and Illinois with nearly 400. Health experts had given the testing bottlenecks in the nation. Monkeypox cases are likely being undercounted. The CDC also confirmed 2 cases of the disease in children. One case is a toddler in California, and the other is an infant who is not a U.S. resident. The country also spotted its first case of monkeypox this year in a pregnant woman. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Mali, terrorist attacks left a total of 15 soldiers and 3 civilians killed during 2 separate attacks in the southwest of Wednesday, according to an army statement. 6 soldiers died and 25 were wounded when terrorists assaulted a military camp in Sonkala, a rural commune in the south-central Ségou region, more than 300 kilometers north of the capital Bamako. 9 soldiers and 3 civilians were killed during an early morning attack on a different camp in the southwestern town of Kalumba, and another military base in the central town of Mopti also was attacked during the night without casualties. Militants linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State have repeatedly raided bases across Mali during a decade-long insurgency concentrated in the country's north and center. And in Palestine, several human rights organizations raised their voices in denunciation of the possibility of the Tel Aviv government facilitating and easing the transfer of occupied Palestinian territories to the settlers. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry itself has issued a statement denouncing the massacre being committed against its people by the occupying authorities who are expropriating and looting homes and farmland. According to human rights activists, Israel is allegedly falsifying the ownership of land and real estate in Jerusalem in favor of expanding settlement operations and stealing more land from Palestinian residents. They claim that this is yet another form of the ethnic cleansing they are carrying out against these people, in full view of the entire world. Hundreds of protesters take part in a march called by trade unions in Nigeria's capital Abuja in solidarity with an academic staff union of universities, ASU, to obtain a quick resolution to the 5-month strike hitting public universities and to allow the students to return to school. From Kaduna to Plateau, Lagos, Jigawa, Benue to Kuwara, among other states of the Federation, the protesting workers handed their list of demands to the state governors for onward delivery to President Muhammadu Buhari. They condemned the prolonged closure of the universities, blaming the development on the failure of the government. Led by the Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, umbrella body of many workers' unions in Nigeria, the protesters also included leaders of human rights groups and civil societies.
Nigeria. There is no reason to justify why our university system should be shut down for a period of 5 months. No reason. And basically that is why we are on the streets. So the message has been communicated very clear and loud. It's the children of the working class and the children of the poor. And there is no reason for that. That's why we're here. So the message is very clear. The problem of Nigeria is not money, it's about priority. Money is still being spent on issues that we think don't matter. Education is very fundamental. Education is life. Once you are denied education, you are denied life. So there is nothing so fundamental like education. It's about our priority. Some of the issues at stake don't have to do with money. It's about the will. Once there is the will, there will be the way. That is our perspective.
And the WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that monkeypox outbreak can be stopped if countries, communities, and individuals take the steps needed to stop transmission and protect vulnerable groups.
This is an outbreak that can be stopped if countries, communities, and individuals inform themselves, take the risks seriously, and take the steps needed to stop transmission and protect vulnerable groups. The best way to do that is to reduce the risk of exposure. That means making safe choices for yourself and others. For men who have sex with men, this includes, for the moment, reducing your number of sexual partners, reconsidering sex with new partners, and exchanging contact details with any new partners to enable follow-up if needed.
Now we move on to other topics. Today, humanity is exhausting its resources as we celebrate the World Nature Conservation Day, according to the Global Footprint Network. Today marks the precise day when humanity's demands for resources and ecological services in a given year exceeds what the Earth can generate for that year. As of today, the planet is in the red. The World Wildlife Fund has issued a stark warning, renewed a few hours ago. In order to keep up with humanity's current pace, 2 planet Earths will be needed. The organization also clarified in the final report that not all the countries consume the same. The United States, for example, will need almost 6 planets, while Yemen will only need 0.3% of one. TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order it from your cable dealer or also tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on the screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us and our stories are heard in other farther away nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and our faithfulness to our audience. So we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.